We're at 12 frames a second right now. So the animated version right now of the show, which is kind of good. It gives me and it might just be layers of Skype and all kinds of stuff. We're always trying to find a better way to bring you in on the show, and still get audio to Chicago. That is the bane of my existence on some levels.
Much.
That internal mix minus. Oh, mix minus. How dare you? So over the last week and a half, as and by the way, Matt Gaetz turns up at this Women for Trump event.
I heard about this
Yesterday, decides to quote Margaret Thatcher, because she's a powerful woman and she's a conservative. The idea is that she's the Iron Lady, she's the female Reagan. He's not the first to do it, but he chooses to use a quote from her that if you want something said, hire a man. If you want something done, hire a woman. Which in his particular circumstance is the single worst quote I think you could possibly come up with. Hire a woman. Really, Matt? Hire a woman. Hire a woman. Okay. Isn't that what you're in trouble for?
Doesn't he have people to look at these things?
He just hired a crisis PR team, and they, I think, helped him set up his appearance at this thing. Although I don't know that they're dictating to him what he is saying at said event.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not walking him through the language there. They just made available because. And by the way, where was this conservative woman's conference? It was at Doral. It was at Trump's property in Miami. Amazing. All I'm saying is, I'm shocked he didn't quote Liz Cheney. So, ultimately, over the next couple of weeks, this will play out. Everybody's innocent till proven guilty, but it does not look good. Joel Greenberg, who is here's the issue I think that drags most on Matt Gaetz's chances of dodging, and the House has opened an ethics committee investigation into him because let's say he manages to dodge this whole sex trafficking a minor, to either Georgia or the Bahamas or DC or dinner with Tucker Carlson and a woman who turns out wasn't Tucker Carlson's wife, apparently. That's awkward. What? Yeah. Apparently the woman that Tucker Carlson had dinner with, Matt Gaetz, and said woman, other girl, was not, I don't know if that was a woman or girl, so I'm not quite sure how to speak of her in terms of her adult status or lack thereof in terms of who was with Matt Gaetz. But the woman that was with Tucker Carlson may not have been his wife when Matt Gaetz went on his show and said, your wife had dinner with us and you'll know, this, you met her to this other girl. So, holy smokes. So, the problem that he has is that in the normal world of awfulness that he lives in, whether or not the girl was a minor at the time that they traveled over state lines, he is alleged to have given ecstasy to these women, taken ecstasy with them, had intercourse with multiple prostitutes, and this kind of stuff. Now, ironically, the Freedom Caucus, the Republicans who are like, everybody should be free. You should be free to do whatever. You should be free to walk down the street with a loaded AR-15, fully auto if you want to, because America, and two 60-round magazines duct taped together in case the cops that show up when you decide to rob the bank, you were just walking till the robbery. You're a law-abiding gun owner till you opened up at the mall. That if you decide to go, full auto, you might need another mag that you could just kind of, quick, Jersey style flip and pop. That they believe in that, right? But they have been against, legalizing drugs and prostitution. That not only are they against a woman's right to choose when it comes to, abortion, but they're against her right to choose if she chooses, or male or female. I would argue they're not for They're against the legalization of prostitution, and they're against the legalization of recreational drugs. There's been some turns, obviously, since John Boehner, who we will talk about in a little bit, became a marijuana investor and a spokesman for the legalized marijuana and medical marijuana group, which is amazing. One would have thought he would have just gotten a job in Napa with the Red Wine Growers Association, but and literally, I can't play clips from John Boehner on this show from his new audiobook because I would violate FCC rules. So, because when he talks about Ted Cruz, which is fun, but they could have solved this issue for themselves a long time ago, which is move certain drugs out of Schedule A, legalize choice-based behavior, freedom, man. I just love that, we got to have freedom. Freedom's my word. Freedom, unless you're gay and you want to get married. Freedom for, so the use, it's always freedom in quotes. It's always, freedom TM, right? It's never, exactly. There's always freedom with a list of, dozens of other, like freedom, except if you want to do this and this and this and this. So meanwhile, while they're running this entire front of family values, while they're running this front of we are the Christian party, that America's a Christian nation based on Judeo-Christian values, while they're running on this entire thing, behind the scenes, they're doing all these things that would be an affront to those very values. And ironically, like we have often discussed with the Lindsey Grahams of the world, if they were comfortable with their own existence and just came out into the light and were, honest about themselves, they would probably be quite welcome on the liberal democratic side of the world. And it would be understood as to why they were, kind of viciously against these rights for a long time, because they were closeted in some form or fashion. And they were constantly fighting in an area of the country or in a party or in a power structure around them that is violently against people of their type, right? So you're kind of like, it must have been terrible for a very long time. But now that you can come out, you can be yourself, and now you don't have to pretend you're basically, in the name of butchness, attack people who have the same inclinations and life that you do, right? So, yeah, I'm dancing around the words on these, but especially when it comes to the Matt Gaetz's argument. So beyond all the was she 17 when they traveled to the Bahamas and all that kind of stuff, and beyond the fact that Joel Greenberg, who's the guy who set up these meetings, these flights, and these travels, and was Matt Gaetz called him his wingman. He brought him to the White House. He brought him to the White House. He brought the tax collector for Seminole County to the White House. Like, how many people? Think of all the people you would bring to the White House if you were invited to the White House for like one of 3 big events over a course while you were close to the president. Think of the list. Would they be the Seminole tax collector who hooked you up with? I mean, maybe it would. Maybe it would. At certain times in people's lives, maybe it would. But in the case of Matt Gaetz, it sure was. It absolutely was. And he, this guy is known for, and many of the charges against him are literally for making fake IDs for teenage girls so that he can travel them across state lines. So Matt's defense that they were all adults, or that he wasn't, this story that she was 17 is completely false, and all that stuff. Yikes. I got bad news for you, Matt. Your running buddy is literally going down for stealing state IDs, shaving the hologram off the front of them, and making fake IDs for underage women so that he could travel them not only for himself, but for people like Matt Gaetz, for people like other unnamed Florida representatives. So this argument that they were of legal age, he went to the tax collector's office, and got an ID that this dude made for him. He knew this guy made fake IDs. They talked about it. And so the idea that you'll come out and go, all these women were of age, as far as I knew, which is going to be, watch that for the next fallback. Over the next, we're going to watch this, obviously play out, but it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And the charge, again, if it was just the House Ethics Committee that was after him, which is run by Democrats because they control the House right now, and if it was just adult prostitutes and drugs and that kind of stuff, they could run a whole, they're going after me, double standard, they don't know, these actually are relationships I had, I didn't use drugs, I can, if somebody else did where I was, people have argued for other people that he could play fast and loose with it. You could arguably hide from it a little bit and let it carry out and just say it's politics. But because of the egregiousness of the charge that's against him, as far as this girl being underage, his only defense is to come out, swinging, in theory, because he can't just disappear at this point. He put himself in traffic. And so he, because of all the speeding cars, he has no choice but to make a big spectacle of himself to keep from getting run over. That's what's happening.
I know you don't condone violence, but is there a more punchable face?
Nope. I don't need to punch this dude. I need to sit back with a bowl of popcorn and watch the legal system drag this whole thing out and make it and have his dad pay his legal fees. And let's talk about the conspiracy when we come back, because a lot of people are like, it's a conspiracy against him, he's being extorted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the extortion.
Oh, the extortion part of it is hilarious. We'll be back right after this.